Back to the Dean Obeidallah show. Right now, very happy to have on the show Cherien Dabis, an award-winning director and actor. She got an Emmy nomination for directing the Hulu hit show Only Murders in the Building. She's one of the co-stars of Mo Amer's show. Mo was on the show several times talking about it. And now she has a brand new film out that she writes, directs, and stars. It's phenomenal. It's called All That's Left of You, and it's Jordan's official selection for the upcoming Academy Awards. Cherien, congratulations on a great film, my friend.
Thank you so much. Really
So
appreciate that.
it's also personal for me. My family's in the West Bank, and that's where my father came from. He came here in the 50s. But to
Mhm.
see this story, and it's remarkable, it's an intergenerational, epic journey. How important was it for you to show Palestinians pre-formation of the state of Israel that they had a life and they were human beings pre that and before 1947, 48?
It was so important to me. I wanted to show what happened to Palestinians in 1948, what had to happen to Palestinians in order to create a Jewish majority state. I wanted to show what Palestinians had, therefore, what we lost. Like how can you really know what Palestinians lost if you don't know what they had?
Right.
And, I grew up with this myth that Palestine was a land without a people for a people without a land. I'm Palestinian American. My dad was exiled from Palestine in 1967. So, I grew up in the diaspora, was born and raised in the diaspora actually, but just visiting Palestine. And so was so aware of these myths, and it was just always like, no, that's not right. We were there. I know people who survived the Nakba. And I just always wondered why the world did not know that story and thought you can't really understand what's happening today if you don't know the Nakba. Because the Nakba, what started, during the Nakba never ended. It just has continued to happen. It's continued to accelerate actually
Mhm.
until now it's a genocide that we're seeing in Gaza. So for me, it was really important to start at least in 1948 and give a sense of that the dispossession, the major ethnic cleansing that happened, more than half of Palestine's population, more than 750,000 Palestinians were dispossessed and
And can you
displaced.
tell people what Nekba means? Because it's shorthand for something. It means it's a word in Arabic, but it means something to the Palestinian community.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that was a time of utter catastrophe for Palestinians. And so Nakba means catastrophe. That's literally what it means. And um, that's very much from the Palestinian point of view what happened in 1948.
Very much so. So I was reading that you wanted to make this movie since you were a kid. And I'm like, when I was a kid, I wanted to be an astronaut. You want to tell a story about Palestinians. What was it from your childhood that you said, I want to make a film? And how did you understand the potential of a film in telling a story?
I think I just felt so kind of misunderstood, overly politicized. Traveling back with my dad to Palestine as a kid, seeing him harassed and humiliated at checkpoints. I really felt like our history was denied, erased, that our story was one that I wasn't supposed to speak about. I felt censored. I even self-censored because I
Mhm.
understood that talking about this in certain places, in certain contexts, was controversial, that it seemed to offend people, and I couldn't really understand why. So I wanted to help people understand the Palestinian experience. It was really important to me. I felt like a representative in a way. Like I felt like I was representing Palestine to the US, to the Americans that I grew up with. I felt like I had one foot in the Midwest and one foot in the Middle East, and I was this bridge trying to bring the two sides of my identity closer together. Um, and for me, storytelling was always so important in part because I also grew up in this country that didn't tell our stories and
Mhm.
that instead dangerously misrepresented us and stereotyped us in a horrific way, in a way that, resulted in my family experiencing radical discrimination and racism at different moments in time, in the Midwest when I was growing up. So I became really obsessed with the media and obsessed with film and television and storytelling and kind of realized that there was such a dearth of our stories. There was a dearth of any authentic representation of us in film and television and media. And that was, I think, what really propelled me to decide I wanted to become a filmmaker before I even really knew what that would entail, to be honest.
It's it's interesting when you said you self-censored talking about Palestine because we grew up in a different time.
Yeah.
We're close to the same age, and
Mm.
people don't understand. I was just talking to Joy Reid yesterday. I was on a show. We were both guests on Laura Flanders' show, and that happened to come up. And Joy said, "Oh, when I used to have my MSNBC show, the executives didn't mind when you were on." I go, "But they didn't like Rula Jibril on as much." And I go, "Because Rula speaks the unvarnished truth. That's you're going to get it. I understand that I might not come back, so I'd rather be able to speak some of the truth about Palestine and get
Mhm.
it out there." And now things have changed. I really
Yeah.
think that we live in a climate where you can talk honestly about what's happening without the fear of the oldies. I mean, there was a concern that your career could end
Right.
prematurely, to be blunt.
That's right. No, absolutely. I mean, I think that we are living in a different time. I think so many people are speaking the truth now. And there's safety in numbers, right? We
Right.
all of us speaking out now protect each other in a way, and I don't know that I ever really felt a fear of losing work because I'm only in this work to represent in a way. Like that is the reason I got into it, and that's really my motivation. Outside of doing this work, I'm not sure I would want to be in this industry because it's just an insane amount of work.
Yeah,
So it's
I
just like if
imagine.
I don't have a really like a deep need to tell a story, I don't think I'm gonna do it. It just
I,
doesn't feel worth it.
I understand. I'm chatting with Cherien Dabis, director and star of the new film All That's Left of You, which got amazing reviews in the New York Times and everywhere. It's an award-winning film already. So in the film, you have different generations play an intergenerational story. You have,
Mhm.
Muhammad Bakri, his son Adam, who I know Adam, and Salah, who I've only met once. Or I met him. I interviewed him once about a movie he was in recently. And Muhammad, I met a few times because Hen, who Shereen knows Hen, my longtime fiance, uh, has been in many things with him. But why was it important to you to have, or was it? I shouldn't assume it was. Did you set out going, if I'm going to have intergenerational, why not have the Bakris? And Muhammad Bakri is one of the best known Palestinian actors in the world, to be honest. He recently passed away, sadly.
Yeah, it was so incredibly sad. I mean, I love that man so much, and I've been a fan for so long, and
Yeah.
I really wanted him. I really wanted to work with him. When I started writing this film, I'm writing this intergenerational portrait, and of course, I'm thinking of the casting because I knew the casting was going to be really tricky to create a family over almost 80 years
Yeah.
and to make sure that everyone feels like family and the different time periods across generations. And so very early on, I thought of the Beckety family. It's like they're the only acting family dynasty in Palestine, and Mohammed Beckety is a legend. I mean, he's been
Mhm.
around for, he had such a robust 5-decade career. And he came up alongside Palestinian cinema. You could say he's one of the founders of Palestinian cinema. And I really had always wanted to work with him. So I couldn't help but think of them. And it was really my dream to
Mhm.
tell this intergenerational portrait both on screen and off screen. And when I first talked to Saleh about playing this part, I learned that his mother is from Jaffa and Saleh was born from Jaffa. And they left when he was 5 to go live in his father's village. And so he understood this character in so many ways. Like his experience mirrored that of the character, Salim in the film in some ways. And, it was really amazing. Just, I mean, beyond amazing to get to work with 4 generations of one family. And it is 4 generations. So Mohammed Beckety plays older Sharif in the 1970s. And as you
Right.
mentioned, Saleh, one of his oldest son, plays his son in the 1970s. And they brought so much nuance to
Yeah.
their relationship. They have
They were great.
a lot of scenes on screen. And then Adam, one of the younger sons of Muhammad, plays the younger version of Muhammad in 1948. And then Muhammad's nephew plays teenage Noor.
Oh, that's okay. So there
So
was a
it's
fourth
four
generation. I didn't know
generations.
that. Oh, that's very interesting. There was a scene where Muhammad is talking to his grandson and he's singing this song, "Hoo la la, hoo la la." You know that song, some Vidra. My Arabic's horrible, but it was weird. My dad just singing that song. I've not heard that
Oh,
song in
really?
decades, and I'm watching it with him. I'm like, that's the song I try to tell you my dad sang to me when I was a kid. And I'm like, where did you get that? Did Muhammad just? I know he ad libs a little bit. I mean, I don't know if he came
Wait,
up with the song. He's singing the song. It's not the outtake where I saw that kind of went viral. They're on the couch together. Muhammad's there. with his grandson holding him and singing hula la la hula. It's like hula la.
Oh, I think that was me singing that.
Oh, you sang that. Oh,
Was
you
it
sang it.
oh la la, samno asal
Yeah,
bijara.
that's all. Oh,
Yeah,
you sang it.
that
So
was me.
you sang it. My dad used to sing that to me and my sister.
Oh, that's so
And
cute.
and so where did you find that song? Is that like a
I was
Palestinian nursery?
It is. It's like a lullaby nursery rhyme that parents sing to their kids, and it was
Ah,
popular back then. And I
oh,
was really looking for something. It wasn't written in the script, but the actor in me was like, I want to sing. I feel like I need to sing to my kid right now and be
sure.
playing with him in this moment where my husband and son come home and something very traumatic has happened, and I'm trying to figure out what has happened. But I wanted to start that scene with the joy of a mother playing with her son. So I started asking around literally on the day of shooting. I was like, what are some songs? What are some songs? And that was the one that stuck.
Yeah, my dad used to sing that to me and my sister to help us sleep. So I'm like, I know this song. I'm like,
Yeah.
ah. So I mean, I don't want to give away too much. I want to paint a picture for people of what goes on. You just alluded to something very powerful in the movie where there's an Israeli checkpoint with a the father and the son are there, and the father is horribly humiliated by the Israeli soldiers. And just so people understand, and I'd love you to comment on it, but in my own, when I went to visit my cousins, and my cousins would tell me that they're really bad to them. And they go, it all depends on how the soldier's feeling that day, how your
Yeah.
day is going to be at the checkpoint. And they're in a good mood,
Yeah.
you get through. If not, they want to be mean or just hold you there for hours for no reason. And they would just say, just smile, don't say anything, just go, don't be any kind of wise guy because they'll make your life so difficult. So,
Right.
share, did that come from real experience? So anyone in your family was at a checkpoint and been that humiliated in front of other family members? I think you mentioned about being with your dad.
Yeah, well, it was originally inspired by one of my first memories of traveling to Palestine, where my family was going from Jordan into the West Bank, and we were held by Israeli soldiers for 12 hours. You know, my parents were interrogated again and again. The soldiers picked through all of the contents of our suitcases, and then the soldiers ordered all of us to be strip searched, including my baby sisters, who were 3 and 1 years old.
Wow.
And, you know, my father was so upset, and he confronted the soldiers, and they started yelling at him and he started yelling back. And I'm like 8 years old thinking, what is about to go down? Like just terrified, you know?
Sure.
And it was like the first moment in my life where I saw my dad so vulnerable. And I realized, oh God, he has no power in this situation.
Mhm.
And so that moment stayed with me. Obviously, it left an indelible mark on me. And it was the moment where I remember thinking, oh, this is what everyone's talking about. This is what it means to be Palestinian, you know? And when I was working on this script, I thought, you know, I don't live under occupation. You know, when we left Palestine after that visit, my father could protect me again. You know, my parents could protect me. But I thought, God, what would it be like to have that experience and to know the soldiers are always there? You know, my parents can't protect me because I'm living under occupation and the soldiers are constantly a presence. What happens to kids when they realize their parents can no longer protect them? And so constructed this scene as the midpoint of the movie that really radically shifts a relationship between a father and a son. You know, this young boy sees his dad, his hero, humiliated in front of him, realizes his dad can't protect him. His
Right.
dad didn't stand up for himself because he was trying to protect his son. But the way his son sees it is like, my dad didn't stand up for us. And so this young boy, you know, and kind of his father plummets in his eyes and his entire, you know, worldview shifts. And yeah, that is the midpoint of this film. And
Very powerful.
it's written as a humiliation, you know, it takes place in the 1970s. And so the way in which soldiers humiliated Palestinians back then was a little bit different. And so I made it more period appropriate, but it was really inspired by what happened, you know, to my family in I want to say it was, yeah, 1980, maybe 1984.
I can only imagine the constant humiliation of Palestine. My mother went one time to visit, and they went with my father. And the Israelis saw my mom was an American citizen, born here, and they said to her, "Couldn't you do better than a Palestinian?" You know, and that's the
Oh,
little indignant,
oh my
the
God.
little dig in front of my father, who, at some point, I don't think he gets upset about anything. He was a very calm guy. He passed away 20 years ago. I'm chatting with Cherien Dabis about her great new film, All That's Left of You, which is it's open in New York and various cities, and it's opening more this weekend. We'll get to that. But, the movie is really dealing with, when you think about it, intergenerational trauma, which is
Mhm.
not something, the Palestinian story, we don't get that.
Mhm.
We hear a lot of other people get intergenerational trauma. Why is it important so Palestinians, so the world who sees this represented on a film?
Well, the Nakba is a collective trauma for all Palestinians, and it never ended. It's ongoing. And so for me, it was really important to tell the story of the ongoing devastating impact of the Nakba, because it's being passed down, it's being perpetuated, and it will continue to be passed down because it is ongoing. It is Palestinians don't have post-traumatic stress disorder. We have present traumatic stress disorder. And, this movie in a way was an exploration of my own intergenerational trauma. I really wanted to look at it. I wanted to see if there was a way that I could transform it and tell a story that would help me to kind of channel it into something that could benefit people, could be of benefit. And I wanted us, all of us Palestinians, to be able to look at our trauma, especially those of us who are not living under occupation, who maybe have the privilege to actually look at our trauma and attempt to heal our trauma. And look, it's maybe too lofty to talk about healing at this time when we're watching a genocide. But I wrote this, I started thinking of the script back in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think it's really important for us to really look at our trauma. For those of us who can, for those of us who have the privilege of living in safety, it's important for us, I think, to look at our trauma, because I don't think, if we're so mired in our own pain and suffering and trauma, we're not able to be helpful from that place. You know what I mean? And so much of this film is about that. It's like, if we're so mired in our own pain and suffering that we can't see the pain and suffering of another, let alone the pain and suffering we're causing another, then we're just continuing to perpetuate a violent world.
Right. And also, I want to make it clear for people that All That's Left of You is not a film just about pain and suffering. It's about
Right.
families through generations. There's a lot of joy, a lot of fun. And I imagine that's by design, right? I mean, to make a film that's just like all pain would be one note and it doesn't reach people. How important
Right.
was it in the three-dimensional representation of Palestinians that they see this full arc, fun and joy and everything else, and then heartache as well?
Well, it's vital. We are, as my character in Mo says, we are more than our pain and suffering.
Right. Yeah.
I believe that with all my heart. And for me, being Palestinian is about family. It's about love. It's about joy. It is about so much more tenderness and generosity. And I wanted to create a family portrait, a multi-generational family portrait that embodied all of those things. And this film in particular for me is very much about Palestinian resilience and generosity and love and the will that it takes to survive all of this political turmoil and personal loss. The love that it takes to survive, because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, all that's left of you, all that's left of us, after we've gone through these just moments of chaos, all that's left of us is love. That's how we survive these things. So for me, that's what the movie's really about.
There's a storyline that's very powerful about organ donation. And again, I don't want to give away too much of the film. I want people to see it at the same time, though. Was that based on any true story, or is that just sort of a dramatic device?
It was a dramatic device that really allowed me to broaden the scope of the film and talk
Oh,
about why Palestinians are suffering, to really
hmm.
put this multi-generational family story in a broader context of why this is happening, and so I wanted to really use it as a kind of symbolic device to broaden the scope of the film.
No, that's interesting because I was wondering. I was looking all over trying to find research if you had said anywhere that it was a true story. I was like moved by that. I want to, there's for being Palestinian. The one thing I accept that life is going to be challenging all the time, right? That's like a premise in life. At least half of me. The Sicilian side is like everything's going to be fine. But
Yeah.
but even but even filming your movie, I saw you had done so much preparation. You had all these props, all these things ready, and
Yeah.
then the Gaza war starts, and that you already said this. My understanding was in the West Bank. That's correct. And then you had to
Right.
leave and leave things behind. What was
That's
that
right.
like? And what was it like for you as a filmmaker, and also in a way as a producer, but the budgets and everything else in your head?
I mean, it was absolutely devastating. It was devastating from so many different angles. We had to leave behind months of work. We were only 2 weeks away from shooting when
Wow.
we were forced to evacuate. We had to leave behind our Palestinian crew, which was devastating. They had done so much beautiful work. We had begun construction on our locations. We had amassed a giant warehouse of props and set dressing. Um, yeah, we left everything behind. We were thrust into total uncertainty. We ended up having to make the movie during, financial and logistical crisis, always trying to raise more money, always trying to get things out in and out of Palestine at a time where it was impossible to do that. Embassies were closing, getting our crew out, getting our cast out was all made so much more challenging. And we were always trying to figure out where to go, looking for Palestine everywhere but
Hmm.
Palestine, recreating it outside, making a movie about what was happening as it was happening, a movie about the Nakba as we're watching an even bigger, more devastating, unprecedented Nakba, and then a genocide on top of it. Just very emotionally draining, constantly raising more money. Everything we spent in Palestine was gone, and we weren't able to
Wow.
shoot there. So we had to start from scratch.
It,
And yeah, so as a producer, it was just, we were the ship was sinking and we were constantly trying to keep it afloat. I mean, this movie kind of made a leader out of me. Like I had to be more than a filmmaker. I had to kind of motivate people and keep people um focused as we're
mhm.
watching a genocide and people are, just devastated. And we really were like family, the crew and I and the cast and I. And it was like we were channeling what we were seeing, what we were witnessing into the film, our grief, our
Sure.
compassion. And, in a way, the movie became a container for all of those things, like our love. And it was a gift to be able to create at a time of such destruction. And that's really what I hold on to. I mean, even now, it's such a gift to have this movie and to be able to take it out into the world and connect with audiences at this particular moment in time.
And last thing, how did you balance? I mean, you were doing, I don't know the exact time or the chronology, but you were one of the co-stars of Mo Show on Mo Amer's show. You're directing other things, directing Ola Murders in the Building, doing pre-production, trying to shoot this. How did you get that all done? Like, how do you get this all your work done?
It was this film was a process of starting and stopping.
Oh, okay.
It really, like, once we evacuated Palestine and had to start almost from scratch, it was really like, okay, we shoot this portion and then we go here and we have to add more prep and then we had to stop because we didn't have enough money. So I went to Houston and I shot Mo season 2 and those dates happened to work out. And then I came back to my film and, we were able to shoot the final chapter in Greece. And so it was really, it all kind of organically came together somehow, that the dates worked out for Mo season 2 and for my film. And I think Only Murders I did right before going off to Palestine to do my film. So it was kind of cuckoo, to be honest. It was a little crazy. I don't know how it all kind of came together. It was a process of like a lot of compartmentalizing and just being so driven and knowing like there's no other choice but to get this done. Like I've got to do this and I've got to do that and now I have to find the time for this and now I have to move that. And it was just
Well,
utter determination.
it's a marvelous movie. It's so heartfelt and entertaining and fun and tear jerking, and for me nostalgic because of and learning about what my father probably lived through in the 30s in
Yeah,
Palestine. And the movie again is called All That's Left of You. And Shereen, it's opening. I saw it's already in New York, San Fran this weekend. I saw that it's opening in more cities, so
that's
people
right.
can go check out on the website either through Watermelon Pictures, or what do you prefer for them to find out where it is and what city?
Well, they can go straight to allthat'sleftofyou.com to
Okay.
find theaters near them and cities where the film is opening. We opened last weekend in New York, LA,
Mhm.
and San Francisco. This weekend, we are expanding to many more cities and more theaters within the cities that we're already in. So, Chicago and other places are opening up this weekend. The following week, we'll be expanding even more.
Great.
But this movie lives or dies in the cinemas, and Palestinian filmmakers like myself can't continue to tell these stories unless people support these films and prove that there is an audience for these films. And right now, I really think there is. I think buying a
Me
movie
too.
ticket for Palestinian films at this time is an act of resistance and an act of solidarity. So I really urge people to support us, to buy a ticket. Even if you can't go see the movie, even if it's not playing near you, buy a ticket somewhere else, give it to someone else, give it to your cousin who lives in San Francisco or New York or Chicago or Atlanta or if you can go see it, take your family, take your friends,
Mhm.
take your communities, take people who don't know enough about Palestine, invite your coworkers, tell people about it, talk about it. It's just so important that a film like this gets seen.
I could not agree with you more. Well, Shireen, congratulations, Mabruk, on a phenomenal film. I wish you the
Thank you
best
so
with it. I look
much.
forward to chat with you in the future about other projects. You're always working on something. So I look forward to
Thank
chat with you in the
you.
future, my friend.
Thank you. Me too.
Take care. Have